What is up, y'all? Philly Fly Show, checking in, kicking in at Right Way Production Studios, and we back for another great week at the Philly Fly Show. Kind of got my pooch in the film this time because, well, I didn't feel like moving him. He's been sleeping now peacefully for like an hour, so I just didn't feel like moving him. Plus, he's really old. It's kind of hard to get him up. I'm surprised he didn't peek his head up because when I talk about him, he tends to peek his head up, but. We're back for another great week. Last week, again, was a great pay-per-view. Great show by the UFC, and the Philly Fly Show went 9 for 12. We're going to toot our own horn here. I'm not going to really go over any fight besides one, and that's the main event because that's what we have to talk about. I did pick Do Bronx. I went a little bit of a risk where I kind of winged it, but my theory behind that showed in a sense, and here's what I'm going to talk about. I'm sick of hearing about people going, the BMF belt needs to be stand-up only and blah, 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 blah. That fight could have been finished standing up. For one, I don't know why Charles didn't do it, because 3 times, and I had to go rewatch the whole fight to make sure that I was right about this. 3 times Charles throws a strike. 2 of them were straights, 1 of them was a hook. I don't know which one was first or anything. I didn't label that or put that in my notes here that I memorized in my head. But Charles hurt Max 3 times on the feet where you got the biggest reaction out of Max. When Charles was barely throwing, you would get a reaction out of Max when he would land. For one, they were up on the feet. But that was a pure domination. You got to be ready for any style fight. Not only, though, the whole time was Charles going for either A, a chokeout, or B, he was beating Max down with elbows and ground strikes. It was a badass fight. Do not dog Charles Oliveira for the type of fight he fought. My only problem with it is when he hurt Max. That it was I don't remember which time it was, but he threw a straight, and Max knees buckled, almost went down, and I was like, what? Why didn't you go in for the kill there? Instead, he went in for the takedown to go finish him. He wanted a finish. It's just he didn't go for the right finish in everybody's mind. But great week for the Philly Fly Show. That's back-to-back weeks for 9 for 12. And if we could keep doing that all year long, maybe that'd be some crazy numbers for the Philly Fly Show. Like I said, the first year I did this, I hit it like 71%, and that was back when I had a blank screen. I didn't even do a live video because I was too scared to, and I was kind of learning my craft at the time. But that year was the best year I've ever had. I'm going for that this year super intently. I really want to hit that 71%. Last year was 62%. The years in between, one dropped to 58. That was my bad year. I think that was 2024. 2025 was 60, and then I can't remember off the top of my head the other one. It was like 64 or something like that, somewhere around that. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for the Philly Fly Show. If y'all liked last week's video because I finally got textiles up, I'm sorry it took so long. Once I figured out how to do it, it's not super easy, but it's not very hard either. You can literally watch the videos and learn how to do it. I suggest if you're going through YouTube, use YouTube Create because that's what I use. And it really helps. And I've only done it 1 week, obviously. We're going to do it every single week from now on in the future. But if you really like it, give me comments on when I do the textiles, if you just like one plain one, or ones like I've been doing, or switch them up every time. Because I kind of like the switching them up. It was kind of cool to see. But tell me what you guys think looks better in your sense. I do this for me and the fans, you know. UFC Fight Night, Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallijos. Now, the main event, if you don't, there's no way you don't know who Josh Emmett is. He's an old fighter from the back in the day. He's just an awesome fighter. Awesome fighter's fighter. Kevin Vallijos is a younger guy, though, and if you haven't watched his fights, he has put on a show against some good contenders. So it's going to be a great main event, but that's not what we're here for. We got match like 14 here. Get my notes ready here. Yes, I put them on this little thing because what I was realizing last week when I was doing this is under pressure, I have things in my brain and then they don't come out. Well, I put them on paper this time so that at least if I want to skip over them, I'm skipping over what's on the paper. But I'm not really going to do that. We're going to jump into it here. Match like 14, we got a female fight. I don't think we had a female fight last week, but we got a female fight this week. Strawweight female fight, match like 14. Pereira Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. This is a banger strawweight fight to see who the real... See if these girls can break into this top 15 here. Pereira, she's got good hands. Sam Hughes has lost some weight and gotten better physical shape, and she has just been on a tear. So it's going to be fun to watch. Pereira Rodriguez is 3-2 in her last 5. She's on a 2-fight win streak, and these two fought each other back in 2022, and Pereira got the win there. But remember, Sam Hughes back then was a different just a different person. You could just totally tell her attributes have changed. Pereira's a negative 162 favorite, where Sam Hughes is a plus 126 underdog. Look, man, said that a little late. Probably need to say that sooner. Sam is 4-1 in her last 5 and on a 3-fight win streak. So she's gonna try to go for 4. I think Pereira Rodriguez gets the win here, and I'm only 1 out of 5 on the confidence level. She can get her hand raised. All right, match like number 13 here is a bantamweight male fight. We get Luan Lacerda versus Hector Souza. Now, Souza's a negative 245 favorite, whereas Luan's a plus 168 underdog. Now, Luan's on a 1-fight win streak, but he's 1-2 since coming into the UFC, and his last one was by submission. Hector is 5-0 in his last 5. He's making his UFC debut. He's coming from Dana White's Contender Series, and with that big favorite over him and fighting a guy who has some experience, Souza is looking like a real prospect in the UFC. Has really good high hopes for him. That's why they matched him up in this fight. I'm going Souza here. I think that MMA background for him matches up to what it's supposed to be, and I think he can get a big win here. 3 out of 5 on the confidence level that he can get his hand raised. Now, match like number 12, it's got some crazy odds. It's a female bantamweight fight between Bia Mesquita and Montserrat Rendon. Now, Rendon's a plus 440 underdog, and Bia is a negative 700 favorite. I think this fight's a little closer on paper than what the odds makers have it, but Rendon does struggle against grapplers, so she's going to have to show that she's worked on her grappling. Bia, she's 5-0, 5-0 in her last 5, 1-0 in the UFC. Her last win was by submission, and she's an undefeated fighter, so she might be 5-0. She's actually 6-0 in all of her fights. That's what her record says. But she's fighting a girl, and like I said, in Rendon, who can fight. She's 2-1 in the UFC, 4-1 in her last 5, and won her last fight. So we'll see how this fight plays out. I'm gonna go with the negative 700 favorite. I just think that her grappling is gonna be too much for Rendon, and that's what's gonna finish the fight there. 3 out of 5 on the confidence level. She can get her hand raised. We'll jump to match like 11 here. We get Brad Tavares versus Eric Anders. Anders is a plus 120 underdog, whereas Brad's a negative 154 favorite. Both these guys are 38 years old and fighting. Brad's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. His last fight is a loss by KO. Same thing with Eric Anders. His last fight, he's lost in KO, but he's 3-2 in his last 5. So we get to see who the real guy gets to stay in the UFC is, because I think that Brad Tavares, if he takes a loss, he could be cut from the UFC, but Anders could be cut from the UFC too if he takes a loss. Sorry, y'all, forgot my water over here, and if you couldn't tell, my mouth's getting really dry already. But as we're sitting here talking, I think Brad Tavares is more well-rounded and a better gas tank than Eric Anders. I think Eric Anders' gas tank is his downfall in the UFC, because he goes for it with almost every shot, just power shot after power shot. That is Brad's downfall, is guys that can land on him. So if Brad gets landed on super early a bunch, it could be a bad night for him. But if this fight gets past the first round, Brad Tavares is totally the favorite and going to win this fight by points/decision. That's what I'd pick that on. 1 out of 5, though, on the confidence level, he can get his hand raised. If you want to get sweet, juicy odds, you could go on the other side and do Eric Anders by a finish and probably boost your odds. But I wouldn't jump on that one. I'm not too sure on that. I just think Brad Tavares is the better fighter and going to win that fight. Match like number 10 here. Lightweight bout between Bolajai Oki and Manuel Souza. Now, Manal is a negative 245 favorite, whereas, 295 favorite, whereas Oki's a plus 220 underdog. Let's make sure I got this lined up here. Oki in his last 5 is 3-2, and his last fight was an L by KO. And Manal is 4-1 in his last 5, making his UFC debut, coming from Dana White Contender Series. He is fighting some stiff competition, so again, UFC has high hopes for this guy. Oki is no slouch, though. He's got power shots, he can strike, he's got okay grappling, offense and defense. I mean, it's not elite, it's not great, it's just okay. So that's why I think the odds makers have it on Manal, because he's more of a grappler. You know what? Oki's going to get the win here. Take that plus 220, try to cash that to the bank, but I'm only 1 out of 5 on the confidence level that he can get his hand raised on that fight. Match leg number 9 is a bantamweight fight when this is a young prospect you do not want to miss out on. Elijah Smith versus Su Young Yu. Su Young is a plus 164 underdog, whereas Elijah Smith is a negative 215 favorite. Look, man, Elijah is just got these crazy hands. He's got fast hands. He's great boxing for the UFC. It's gonna be a tough fight for him. Su Young is no slouch. Came up through Dana White's The Ultimate Fighter. I don't remember if it was the China version or the other version, but he won. And won whatever. I'm pretty sure it was the China version. Won that, and has looked very good in his. Let's see here. We got Elijah Smith 5-0 in his last 5 and 2-0 in the UFC. And then Su Young is 5-0 in his last 5 and 3-0 in the UFC since winning the Ultimate Fighter. So it's a good fight here. No UFC debut, which I might accidentally said for Su Young. He's not making his UFC debut. I've seen him already. Remember that now. But Elijah's got those crazy hands, man. Ain't no way. Unless Su Young's grappling is going to outsmart him, I just don't see him winning. I see Elijah Smith just putting a beating on Su Young. 3 out of 5 on the confidence level that he can get his hand raised after this fight. Match leg number 8 is a heavyweight bout between Vitor Petrino and Steven Asplin. Now, Steven is a plus 190 underdog, whereas Vitor is a negative 250 favorite. Yo, man, Vitor is 3-2 in his last 5. He's on a 2-fight win streak since he moved to heavyweight. This used to be a light heavyweight fighter, so the weight cut used to be getting to him. Now he fights at heavyweight, whereas the weight cut's not so bad. His gas tank is a lot better at heavyweight, but it's still questionable in my eyes. And fighting a guy like Asplin, these guys are going to stand and bang. It's going to be a banger fight. It's going to be don't blink, someone's going to sleep, and it's heavyweight, so it's most likely going to happen. Asplin is, let's see here, got to make sure I got this lined up right. 4-1 in his last 5 and 1-0 in his UFC fight. So someone's always got to go in their last couple fights here. No one's always got to go. They both got losses on their record. I don't know why I said that. But they're going to fight. It's going to be a banger. Don't miss it. It's a good fight. 1 out of 5 on the confidence level. Now, if Asplin ends up winning, might be jumping on that bandwagon because that dude's got some crazy fast hands for the heavyweight division. All right, match leg number 7 here is a welterweight bout between Chris Curtis and Mabek Orlabai. Now, Orlabai is a negative 295 favorite. Already seen it jump up to 340 on FanDuel. Chris Curtis plus 220 underdog. Look, man, this is a good banger fight. This is a featured prelim bout, if I didn't tell you that already. Match leg number 7. Look, Chris Curtis is 2-1 in his last 5. His last win was a W, and he made his welterweight return his last fight. So we'll see if that's his new weight division. But the guy on the other side, Orlabai, is a great striker. He's 4-1 in his last 5, and he's got on a 2-fight win streak, and those hands are dangerous. So, if you didn't already figure out who I'm going with Orlabai here, because Chris Curtis likes to take a shot to give you a shot. He'll take 2 to 3 to give you 1. He does have power, but man, you do not want to do that against a striker like Orlabai. He's going to get the win here and get his hand raised after the fight. 3 out of 5 on the confidence level. That happens. All right. 6-fight main card. We'll jump right into it. Match number 6 is a flyweight bout between the 14th ranked Charles Johnson and the 15th ranked Bruno Silva. Now, Bruno's a plus 144 underdog, whereas Charles is a negative 186 favorite. Charles lost his last fight when I thought he should have won. I do not know how he lost to Perez. Perez is a great power puncher, but Charles just, I'm hoping the age didn't catch up to him. Both these guys are 35 years old, and both these guys have kind of struggled against the top 15/top 10 of the flyweight division. So it's going to be a good fight here to see who can keep going forward, or if they're kind of both done. It'll kind of be a nail in the coffin for each of them if it's a bad performance. Match like 6 here. Charles Johnson 3-2 in his last 5. Last fight he lost by KO. Bruno Silva 3-2 in his last fight, but he won his last fight by submission. So we'll see what happens here. I'm going Charles Johnson here, 1 out of 5 on the confidence level, but I'm only doing that because Bruno, when he gets in brawls, is always the lesser striker. He's more of a grappler. And Charles is long, so if Charles can keep him at distance, keep this fight standing up, it's going to be a good night for Charles Johnson. Like I said, 1 out of 5 on the confidence level. He can get his hand raised. Light heavyweight bout next for match number 5, and it is a banger. Ian Cutelaba versus Omar Sy. Now, Sy is a negative 260 favorite. Ian Cutelaba is a plus 196 underdog. Ian, since he's gotten more calculated and isn't going for the kill every second of the fight, he does in the first round. He almost gasses himself and does what he used to do. But it's the second and the third rounds where he changes his game plan and kind of goes for the point fighting. That has worked good in his favor in his last, let's see here. His last 5, he's 3-2, but his last fight he took an L. On the other side, Omar Sy, though, is a beast. He's 4-1 in his last 5, 3-1 in the UFC, and his last fight, he got a win by KO. So it was hard for me to pick against Ian. I'm a really big Ian fan. I really like where his game's gotten to, but I'd rather him go for it. If he goes for it, he can hurt people and do some damage. When he doesn't go for it and he does this point fighting thing to me, yes, he gets some wins, but you got to rely on the judges on most of them, and I'm not a guy who's going to rely on the judges when you got crazy power like that and you look the part. Both these guys look the part in fighting, but Sy's going to get the big win here on Saturday. 3 out of 5 on the confidence level. He can get his hand raised. Match like number 4 is a little different here. It's an undefeated fighter making his UFC debut in Marwan Rahiki, and then Harry Hardwick is 4-1 in his last 5 and lost his last fight by KO. Hardwick plus 200 underdog, whereas Rahiki negative 265 favorite. Look, man, Harry didn't show me enough to show that he can actually win a good fight and be a good contender here. And Rahiki is getting a little bit of, for his UFC debut, it's not the greatest matchup, but they match each other's up like this to see if Harry still has it. So I'm going to go Marwan here. I'm going to take that negative 265 and cash it to the bank. But again, not a lot known by both these fighters on my end. So I'm only going to go 1 out of 5 on the confidence level that Rahiki can get his hand raised. So how long has my dog just been sitting there staring? I looked a little while ago and he was doing it. He's old. He's got donkey dementia. He kind of gets stuck like this and you kind of like, what's up, buddy? Yeah, what's up, buddy? He's probably like, why are you talking? Why do you keep talking? All right, match like number 3 here is a featherweight bout between Andre Touchy-Fili and Jose Miguel Delgado. It's a badass featherweight fight. Great to see Touchy-Fili back in there. Touchy-Fili is a plus 280 underdog. Jose, negative 390 favorite. I think the odds makers have this wrong. Man, Miguel's well-rounded. Very, very well-rounded. But Touchy-Fili has been in this game for a long time since he was a young guy. He's fought so many people, and he's in Team Alpha Male. He can grapple. He's not a very great offensive grappler, but his grappling defense is up there with the best. His hands are very speedy. Not a great amount of power, but enough power that you still got to respect the guy because of that speed. And Miguel, look in here. Miguel, he is 4-1 in his last 5. He's 2-1 in the UFC and lost his last fight. So we'll see how he rebounds from that one. Whereas Touchy-Feely's 3-2 in his last 5, and his last fight was a win, and he looked good against Christian Rodriguez. So I'm going Touchy-Feely here. That's my guy. I almost have to, because that's my guy, and he's going to get a win on Saturday, but I'm only 1 out of 5 on the confidence level because Jose is game and always game to fight. All right, co-main event of the evening is a badass female fight in the strawweight division. Number 5 ranked Amanda Lemos versus number 8th ranked Jillian Roberson. Now, Lemos is plus 162 underdog, Roberson negative 210 favorite. Lemos is 2-3 in her last 5, and her last fight was a loss, a bad loss. She should have got a win, I think. Jillian Roberson is on a tear. She's 4-1 in her last 5, on a 4-fight win streak. She's beating girls up with her hands, but her grappling is elite. There's not many girls that can say that they're above her in the strawweight division on grappling. That girl's grappling is elite. On her back, on walking forward, doesn't matter. But when she learned those hands, that's when things got dirty here for the rest of the division. And Amanda Lemos has just struggled against any girl who can grapple, any girl who can stand and bang with her. The difference is Amanda's got some crazy power compared to Roberson. So if Amanda lands on a good counter, Roberson could be done very fast. But I don't see that happening. I see Roberson going in and submitting her really quickly. I think Amanda Lemos has not got great grappling, and I think that's what's going to be her very big downfall in the UFC. Roberson, 3 out of 5 on the confidence level, she can get her hand raised. And then we get to the main event of the evening, boys and girls. Josh Emmett, number 11th ranked in the world, versus Kevin Vallijos, number 14th ranked in the world. Josh is a plus 390 underdog. Kevin's a negative 590 favorite. The odds makers do not have this right. It shouldn't be flipped the other way or anything. It's just got to be a lot closer. If you want to give Kevin a negative 250 and give Josh Emmett at least some respect at plus 190, I would jump on the bandwagon with you. But this way is just nuts. I don't think Josh wins. We're going to come out and say it right from the start so you don't even get a little foreshadow. Josh does not win this fight, but Josh can win this fight because he's got missiles in those freaking hands. We've seen it plenty of times. He's not good on his back. If you get him on his back, we've seen that. He's not a quitter, but he's just not good at grappling to get up from his back. Kevin Vallijos, so I don't know if he's going to use much grappling. I think he's going to throw on a show on his hands. And that's the dangerous part on why I think the odds makers need to make this closer. But Josh Emmett is 1-4 in his last 5, which is not very great. 2 fight lose streak for him, and he has only 1 win since getting a title fight and losing that title fight the way he did in his last 5 fights. This title fight was there. It's ugly. I wish the best for Josh, but Josh don't win today or on Saturday. Josh is done with the UFC, I think. And then you go to the other side where Kevin Vallijos is 5-0 in his last 5 fights and 3-0 in the UFC, and just he's got some good wins under his belt. I didn't write down his wins, so I'm not going to go over them because my phone's right here, which kind of sucks. But yeah, man, Kevin Vallijos is going to put on a show, 1 out of 5 on the confidence level, and you know what? Philly Fly Show is checking out here. These podcasts probably going to get a little longer now that I've kind of got to do some editing, so they might get a couple minutes longer. Like this one's at like 24 minutes almost, and I don't typically do that. So shout out to Right Way Production Studios for always making this happen, and we will see you next week for a good UFC fight night. Peace out, y'all, and like and share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Peace out.